Fantastic. Right. I think we are ready to kick off. So welcome. I can't see you all, but welcome. I'm Deborah Evans, the Regional Care Farming Manager for Growing Care Farming. And I'm really, really pleased to welcome you to our online conference this afternoon. We've got a lot of experience of bringing people together for face-to-face conferences in fancy venues with marketplaces showcasing care farms and doing lots of networking, but this is our very first online one. So although you're going to have to make sure your own tea and coffee cups are filled, we've got a really, really good programme today, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from all of our speakers and sharing the work that the Growing Care Farming team have undertaken so far to support the infrastructure and capacity of the sector. So, although I haven't got to point out fire exits and loos for online events, there are still some housekeeping points that I just want to bring to your attention before we start. So the conference is being recorded and it will be uploaded to the Social Farms and Gardens website in due course. Your details and attendance are private and won't be shared, but obviously your name may be public on your video link window. So if you'd prefer for that to be private too, please feel free to change it to whatever you want. Attendees are all, there's no video cameras on, so you're not visible via the video link and you're all automatically muted. And we're going to do a question session at the end in the plenary session. And you can ask your questions through the question and answer function in the menu at any time. So feel free just to type your question. One of the team will either answer it or pick it up and ask it on your behalf at the plenary session. There's also a chat function for those of you who've used Zoom before. It should be the little speech bubble, I think, in the bottom of your screen. So feel free to use that as much as you want to chat to each other. Staff members will be posting links from the presentations into there so you can access them. This chat will also be recorded and made available to participants afterwards. So please only share the contact information or details in there that you're happy to have circulated. So after a very difficult year for everyone, we really wanted to celebrate today what's good about care farming and share some examples of how the sector has adapted to the changes that's been thrust upon it, and really how care farms have risen to the challenges of this year. It's important to recognise that while we can only highlight 4 today, all the Growing Care Farming team have been humbled and encouraged by the commitment that all the farms we engage with have shown in going the extra mile to support their participants, helpers, co-farmers, service users, clients or volunteers. The terminology is as diverse as the care farms themselves. So many of you listening are care farmers. Some are looking to become care farmers and others are here because you want to know more. You perhaps work in health or education or social care. This conference today doesn't intend to introduce what care farming is in detail. We've got some really good resources on the Growing Care Farming pages that do that well. But suffice to say, this is an easy one-liner. Care farming is the therapeutic use of farming practices. You might also notice as we're going through the term social farming. Social farming and care farming are used interchangeably. The more involved with the sector that you become, you'll really notice the breadth of the terminology. So I highlighted some of the different ways that farms describe their beneficiaries earlier on. So there's a huge amount of diversity in both the terminology and the sites, which gives each setting the ability to be individual and unique, but also part of something bigger, which I think is really important, that we all feel part of a sort of wider sector. But what all these care farms have in common is that they use the farm or outdoor setting to deliver benefits to their participants. The other thing, which we're picking up on today, that they've all got in common is that they've had to adapt due to COVID restrictions. So that's enough for me for the moment. I'm going to turn my camera off and I'm going to share a film with you now, a new film showing the range of people attending and the diverse activities and settings. And I think this is going to show you far better what care farming is than I can actually explain it.
Care farming is a fantastic way of helping to connect people with nature, and we know that nature has huge benefits for people's mental health, and it is a great way to connect people up who might be isolated in the community. It's really good for our well-being.
Care farming that we see particularly is the opportunity for people here in a farm environment. They can be productive in outdoor ways without having pressure being put on their productivity. So it offers people opportunity to do something purposeful, to contribute to the seasonal life of a farm or a garden, but in a way that suits them and suits their needs and suits their abilities.
We've got lots of young people and adults who have been anxious or worried or concerned, and they come here and they've got space just to be the person they're meant to be.
I just can't recommend enough using a care farm. It's been so positive for our students. It's something that we don't have the capacity to offer in this same format. The scale of it is just totally different to what we would be able to provide in terms of outdoor activities and outdoor education. And it's been really, really good for just building them up and helping them to be more responsible.
Best thing, come in here, do loads of planting, getting my hand very dirty.
I wasn't really sure on myself, but after coming here, I really know where I belong in that on a Friday. It's just really comforting, and I know that I'm really, well, enjoying it here.
When we first come, he was very, very quiet, wouldn't speak to anybody, but now I drop him at that gate and he just looks forward to coming here. He's a totally different person, to be honest.
At one stage, you would never believe Aidan would talk about a future. Now he is. With the help of the farm, he's becoming my son again.
Invariably, people like the setting. They like to be in the fresh air. They like the open space. They like to mix with other people, and they like to be engaged in sort of activities that have a sort of tangible result at the end of them. And people tell me, and I do see it. People's confidence improves. People's well-being improves. Their outlook and their sort of attitude towards life definitely improves, and they become more positive.
Humanity is not designed to live in a box. Green spaces, fresh air, animals, and contact with other people, that is the key to life.
Hopefully that's given you a much better flavour, as I say, than I can of why we're celebrating care farming. I think those films are fantastic. We really enjoyed putting them together, and I think actually sort of seeing it firsthand like that really tells the story. I'm now going to introduce my colleague, Dr Rachel Bragg, to share some of the work that Growing Care Farming's been doing over the last couple of years. Rachel and I have worked together in supporting and promoting care farming for a really long time, actually, and we've seen a lot change and develop over that time. But what we have seen is just a steady growth and level of interest in this area of work, which is just really encouraging and really inspiring for us. So I'm going to hand over to you, Rachel, to talk us through some of the work that we've been involved in with Growing Care Farming.
Thank you, Debbie. Well, as Debbie said earlier, we were both delighted to be here at our first online conference. So I'm the Care Farming Development Manager for Growing Care Farming at Social Farms and Gardens. And alongside Debbie, we head up the Growing Care Farming programme. Next slide, please, Debbie. So So for those of you who are new around here, the Growing Care Farming project is delivered by Social Farms and Gardens in partnership with Thrive and is part of the government's Children and Nature programme. And the aim of the project really is to expand and transform care farming services across England, basically to work to increase both the supply and demand within our sector. And the main purpose of doing this really is so that we can together create more opportunities for people with a defined need to benefit from health, social and specialist education care delivered on care farms. So for more information about the project, please have a look at our web pages using the link that's here. And I think it'll also be highlighted in the chat function by one of my colleagues, hopefully. And the only other thing I wanted to say on this slide really is to say that, like every sector and every organisation, we've been affected by the COVID-19 restrictions and as well, and it's meant significant changes to how we deliver the programme. What we're delivering now compared to what we thought we were delivering in the first place has changed quite a lot, but actually I think we've adapted, and it might even be stronger because of it. Next slide, please, Debbie. Oh, I feel like I'm on a government Q&A session or something. Anyway, so we are so we're here today to celebrate care farming and to show how we've all adapted to change. And at GCF, our shortened version of Growing Care Farming, we've been going for 2 years now, and I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of what we've been doing, how our work is being received, and what changes we've seen over that time. And I think I'm going to start really with one of the things that GCF has enabled us to do is to recruit a fantastic team of people to help us promote care farming and support the growth of our sector. As Debbie said, at one point, there were only 2 of us working hard to support the sector in this kind of way. And now we have a team of enthusiastic, talented staff to help us, and not to mention a wonderful team of colleagues behind the scenes at Social Farms and Gardens and in our great partners at Thrive too. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to put faces to some of the names in a bit. But first of all, I wanted to highlight the sort of the key aspects of our work at Growing Care Farming. So we have regional and central networking opportunities, getting people together, which we know works well. We have developed online and face-to-face training opportunities. We have also been busy developing, supporting and promotional resources. We've been working hard to advocate and promote care farming, and of course also working to ensure quality assurance via the Care Farming Code of Practice. Next slide, please, Debbie. So first of all, the training, we'll start here. So I'm going to talk through what we've been doing in our key areas of work, starting with training and taking the opportunity to introduce our staff team along the way. So starting with our training development, this is where we've particularly used the expertise of our partners at Thrive. Unfortunately, they also have an event today. They have a series of events on. It's clearly a busy day today, so they weren't able to join us in person. Otherwise, I'd be asking them to be on the spot waving at us as well. But I've put a couple of the pictures up there of some of the trainers at Thrive who we've been working with. And I'd also like to introduce, sorry, I'm jumping back from screen to screen just to see whether we have Katie at the moment. Excellent. Hi, Katie. Hi there. So Katie's our project officer, and Katie Jeffries, and she's been leading on the quite considerable logistics of developing new training and coordinating all the feedback and planning as we move forward. So thank you, Katie, for all your hard work in this area. Katie's also been doing all sorts of other things, but I thought I'd introduce her here at this stage. So thank you. So some of the training that we've developed is online, so it can be completed in people's own time at a pace that suits them. Some of our training takes a blended learning approach and has live facilitated sessions, and other training materials are hosted on our web pages. All of our training has been developed and tested with care farmer input at all stages. And we're really grateful to all of those care farmers who took the time to help develop our training with us. Originally, we had some face-to-face training, but as you can imagine, that's been on hold due to COVID, and we've redeveloped these courses to be delivered online. So in terms of the scope of our training, it's designed to help people at the beginning of their care farming journey to move towards delivery of care farming services. But we also have training for those who are already delivering care farming or green care services and who would like to move on to working with a different client group, for example, or for developing their service provision. We've had some great feedback on our training, and we're really pleased, as hopefully you can see, yes, that's coming up on our screen. Thank you, Debbie. And we've had some great feedback and are really pleased that it's being well received. And I've popped the link up there as well. So all details of our training can be found on our website. Okay, I'm furiously trying. So next slide, please, Debbie. I don't know what they say, 2 screens, whether it makes it easier or just more confusing. Anyway, thank you. So now talking about our support and resources. It's a crucial area of our work. It's the development of supporting resources and promotional materials and providing support for various key areas of care farming. Which I'll talk about in a minute, but I'd like to take this opportunity, if they are available, to introduce another couple of colleagues, Hannah and Sophie. Are you here? Yes, excellent. So Hannah Beale is our digital content coordinator, and Sophie is our digital content support. So hi, Hannah.
Hello.
And hi, Sophie. Excellent. So Hannah and Sophie have been working very hard behind the scenes at the moment, and I'll walk you through some of the support and resources we've been developing. So we've been providing promotional materials, supporting resources, and support for various key areas of care farming, from governance to measuring outcomes and pretty much everything in between. So we have been running monthly themed webinars led by care farmers and other experts. We've also been producing a monthly newsletter that highlights what's new, what we're doing, and also something that's gone down particularly well is featuring various funding opportunities. And we are constantly developing and updating a suite of online and downloadable resources. This is the area that Hannah and Sophie have been working particularly hard in. And this is an area that we're actually going to be focusing on a great deal over the course of the next year. We've also commissioned 3 films to help promote the value of care farming for various sectors: health, social care and education. And we are writing case studies all the time. These are in the perspective of care farms, referral routes, and also from the lived experience for the point of view of service users. And one of the key things that we do at GCF is to take a snapshot of the scale of the sector through our annual survey, which enables us to keep abreast of what's happening in the sector. But, it particularly helps us to see how the is what's happening, and we'll be particularly interested rather to see how the sector is faring in the next one, which I think we're going to do in about June time, to see where we can really see the effects of a pandemic on our sector. Okay, I think that's, oh no, put one more point, I'm not scrolling down quick enough. We're also, as I say, really excited because we've got some great web resources coming soon. Hannah, Sophie and the team have been working really hard to create and organise easily accessible resources to improve what's apparently termed the user journey and to help people find what they're looking for more easily. So watch this space. Okay, so now next slide, please, Debbie. Okay, so this is another point. I've got reminders here to introduce various people. So another important area for us is our networking strand of our work. So at this point, I would like Debbie and Sarah to pop their cameras on. Debbie, as you've already heard, Debbie, seen Debbie, but Debbie heads up the regional networking arm of the GCF work. And Sarah, are you there? Are you able to put your camera on and wave and say hi? And this is Sarah Marrison, our regional support officer. So welcome, Sarah and Debbie. Thank you. So our networking work, what is it? Well, we know that it's all about developing relationships, really. We know that things happen when people talk to each other. And we know from experience that getting people together is the way that things progress, certainly on a local level. Local service providers can talk to local referral agencies. And it's all about the networking, as I'm sure you know, it's all about developing relationships with people in commissioning, in charge of referrals and placements to care farms, developing relationships within social prescribing, within health, education and social care, within agriculture, as well, of course, as developing relationships with care farmers, prospectives, is our term for those looking to develop care farming services in future, and interested parties. So we piloted our networking approach in Yorkshire and Humber way back in October 2019, which seems, I don't know about you, Debbie and Sarah, but that seems like an awful long time ago now. And then obviously then COVID hit us, and we sort of paused and regrouped during the first lockdown. And then Debbie and Sarah worked really hard to rethink and adapt our networking strand, if you like, to ensure that our networking continued during the lockdowns. And we've been regularly connecting people from the south of Cornwall to the north of Scotland and in Wales and Northern Ireland too, through our online networking events that happen monthly. And the successes of these events have meant that we've gone ahead with going live in the Northeast and the Northwest earlier this year too. And you can see from the feedback that we've received, that Debbie's popping on the screen now, that the networking led by Sarah and Debbie has been really well received, and it's kept our sector together in the challenging times of social distancing and often isolating times for some as well. So next slide, please, Debbie. And again, what I probably should have mentioned is that you can see the links to the various aspects of our work in the presentation, and I'm sure one of my excellent colleagues will be popping them in the chat as well. So quality assurance via our Care Farming Code of Practice. So first, while we're here, this is another key element of our work, and Pearl, are you here? Excellent. Hi. Pearl Cousins is our code administrator. So Pearl deals with all things to do with the code, and is I'm sure many of you have had email contact with her. So hi, Pearl. Hello. And welcome. Our quality assurance. So the Care Farming Code of Practice is essentially a minimum standard. It's a clear set of guidelines intended to meet the requirements of commissioners, referral referral agencies and service users. It's a site-specific, I shouldn't have put all these S words in one sentence, should I? It's a site-specific self-assessment application, that'll teach me, regularly updated to reflect any changes in commissioning legislation and good practice. And we really encourage all those providing care farming services to adopt the code. And the code stands us in really good stead when we're promoting care farming in our advocacy work. Having a quality standard helps us, and it's well received by commissioners and other referral agencies to know that a care farm is well run and is safe. So the code is suitable for nature-based or a range of farm and garden sites delivering commissioned services, including care farming, STH and animal assisted therapies. We have a lot of equine assisted therapy projects working through the code at the moment as well. And it's suitable not only for sites that are already up and running and delivering care farming services, but we also find that many people are using it as a checklist for those that are in the process of setting up, as a sort of checklist to work through, really, to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row before opening your gates to service users. So our code of practice is assessed by a panel of experts. I thought the slide might get too busy if I popped everybody's photos up there, but we're enormously grateful to our care farmer assessors. And over the last 2 years, we've seen a real increase in popularity of people wanting to go through the code of practice. And Pearl and team have been working really, really hard to develop a number of resources to help people in their code journey, if you like. So we've developed a leaflet about the code, film, guidance documents. You'll see up here as well on the screen, worked really hard to provide a COVID reopening checklist, and that was something that we did. We sort of responded to demand really from our care farmers who wanted sort of just everything put in one place really, so we worked hard with that. We also have our online question and answer sessions with Pearl and one of our assessors, which have also been really, really well received, and also a quarterly newsletter as well for our code community. And again, if you want to know more about the code, then have a look on the web pages and the links down there. So I think, Debbie, that's time for the next slide, please. Okay, advocacy and promotion. It's another, I seem to have managed to put, this is an important part of what we do on absolutely every one of our slides so far, but it really is an important part of what we do. And I wanted to take this moment, this opportunity to introduce Meggie. Meggie, are you there? Meggie is our comms guru, all things comms. Hi, Meggie. To give us a wave. Say hi. And also another part of another one of the team who works really hard on the promotional side is Katie. I might ask you to pop your camera back on again if you're there. Katie is she heads up. Hello again, Katie. If you're wondering, if you follow us on Twitter, Katie is the face behind our Twitter feed. So Katie and Meggie work very closely together to promote what we're doing. So thank you both very much for your work in this area. So again, advocacy and promotion is a key part of what we do. So, and it's a key part of what I do as well. The main parts of my role is really sort of telling the story, really explaining why care farming is such a great thing. You know, care farming is good for society. It reduces the strain on statutory services in health, social care and education, and also on the NHS. For farmers, care farming is a great alternative way to use your farm to promote health, social and educational care services in addition to, or even instead of, commercial production. And most importantly, for service users, care farming is really, really great. We see improvements to mental and physical health, increased self-confidence and self-worth, reduced social isolation, and actually for many people, care farming can change their lives. It can be really quite transformative. So we advocate for the wider sector on several levels, sort of both bottom up and top down, if you like. So we work with care farmers and referral agencies to promote locally through our networking opportunities. And it's really great, actually. We've got a fab staff team, and we are promoting and advocating pretty much in every aspect of what we do. And we're also working with policymakers and national bodies to promote the value of care farming, sort of from the top down, if you like. And I think probably this part of our work has been particularly affected by COVID. Many of the people that we want to influence and lobby and to really get them to understand the importance of care farming are in health, social care and education, who understandably have had their hands slightly full dealing with the pandemic, both treating those who are ill and are rolling out a national vaccination programme, for example, in health. And in education, schools have been closed, exams have been disrupted, and children are suffering from COVID-related anxiety and depression, for example. So we have really had to adapt, and we've taken, in order to still have a voice and to make our voice heard, but without, you know, in an appropriate manner, if you like, as well. So we've adapted. We've taken to the virtual platform wherever possible. We had a virtual care farming meeting. It was supposed to be a virtual tour, an actual tour of a care farm with folks from DEFRA, the NHS, Public Health England, various policymakers, Natural England, care farmers, all sorts of people. We wanted to show what a care farm was like in person. And of course, we were all in lockdown, so we had to think differently. And we had a virtual care farming meeting that Natural England organised on our behalf. And we have engaged with, and the screenshot you can see with all the faces, that was our virtual, one of our virtual events. We've engaged via Teams, via Zoom, on Twitter and social media, really wherever the opportunities have arisen. And we've been able to input into conversations about green social prescribing, about ELMS, the Environmental Land Management Scheme development with DEFRA, NHS England and PHE, Public Health England. And when we couldn't access people, we took the opportunity to commission our films that we can use to promote the work of care farms and green care sites across the UK, you know, basically using the films to do some of the promotional work for us when we can't see people face to face, or if they're busy tackling a pandemic. However, you know, the new realization that nature is so important to our health has really, you know, brought home by COVID-19 has actually really helped people to see the links between nature and health. And, you know, it's also helped us. It's easier to help people to see the links between farming related activities and our health and well-being now because of COVID. So although we've had to adapt and it's made our job harder in one way, it's also made our job slightly easier in that people get that nature is good for us. So you know, we've adapted. We've adapted, and I think that's worth, you know, celebrating as well. I'm just clicking on. I think that might be time for the next slide, Debbie, please. Thank you. So going forward, we will continue to develop our resources. We will be continuing to deliver training and quality assurance, highlighting quality assurance. We'll be continuing with our networking opportunities so that people can feel part of our work and to help us, you know, promote the work of our sector. And we'll also be taking advantage of the new realization of the value of nature to our health and well-being to fly our flag slightly more vigorously. Not sure whether that's the term, bear with me. So, I mean, care farming is, so we'll be continuing to advocate on behalf of the care farming and green care sector. Care farming is perfect for social prescribing. It's just the sort of community-based intervention that fits really well with the model. And we'll continue to advocate that the nature, health and wellbeing sector has just got so much choice for social prescribing. We've got, you know, there are so many different sorts of projects, different sorts of organisations, that the choice there for the end user is amazing. And so people will be able to, you know, provide bespoke opportunities for people. We just need to ensure that the service provision gets funded, because as we know, no organisation can deliver services of any kind for free. And care farming is just the public service for public goods that needs recognition and funding via ELMS. And actually, indeed, care farming is perfect for agriculture post-Brexit. It provides a great option for small family-run farms to increase their resilience. So it's really, really relevant there. In times where young people's mental health has suffered with COVID, care farming can provide a perfect solution for education. We'll have some exciting news about care farming and education next month too, so watch this space. And last but certainly not least, care farming can play a major role in the nation's mental health recovery and post-COVID. Care farming is particularly relevant now. It's the time really is now. We've seen a gathering momentum of the recognition of care farming, and it's really now time to sort of make the most of that gathering momentum and really highlight to pretty much anybody that will listen about how care farming can be part of this solution in the nation's mental health recovery. And I think that's really, really exciting. We've got some really good sort of current some hooks that are happening in policy at the moment that we can hang care farming on, and that will really help us to promote the role of care farming and the work that our wonderful care farmers have been doing. So, as you know, I can actually talk for England. So I'm going to stop now and say, yes, watch this space. And thank you to our staff team and for everybody that's been helping us with the work over the last couple of years. We've enjoyed it, and here's to more.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Rachel. It's really nice when, you know, so constantly hearing such a stream of bad news all the time and some negativity, to actually just hear a bit of sort of optimism. And I also want to congratulate you on keeping perfectly to time as well. I haven't had to either mute you or chase you off. So very well done.
Thank you, Debbie. And on that note, I'm going to mute myself and turn off my video. Thank you.
Okay, we'll hear a bit more from Rachel later on, but you know, if there's any sort of questions or anything you want to pick up on, do pop them in the Q&A function, as I mentioned earlier on, and keep pinging those across. I'm popping things in the chat. I can't actually see that at the moment, the chat, but I'm hopeful that sort of colleagues are dropping in links, and you're all keeping in touch with each other over that. I'm going to get Rachel Chambers now to put her video on. I'm hoping I'm able to see you, Rachel, actually, because the way I've got everything set up. You're on, are you? Thank you very much, because I can't see you the way I'm set up. But I'm just going to introduce Dr. Rachel Chambers. She's going to be chairing the bulk of our session this afternoon now. Rachel's a voluntary director of Denzome Care Farm, which is based on her family farm. Denzome opened about 11 years ago and offers care farm provision really to anyone who may benefit. And I'm very sad that I still haven't had the opportunity to visit, and hopefully post-COVID I will get there at some point. But Rachel's got a sort of a huge wealth of experience in this whole area. She's carried out her doctoral study on a number of care farms across England, looking at how young people on alternative curriculum programmes experience care farms. She's also a code of practice assessor, and I think you're still a CVAS trainer, Rachel. Are you? Am I right in that?
I am.
You are, yes. And just in case anybody's wondering what CVAS stands for, I'm not going to do the whole line of duty thing and make everybody go Googling. It's Countryside Educational Visits Accreditation Scheme. And again, I'm sure one of the colleagues can drop that in the chat. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Rachel. Again, just give me a shout to move slides on as and when needed.
Okay. I think I've only got 2 slides, Debbie, so when it feels natural to move them on, that's absolutely fine with me. So thank you very much, Debbie, for the introduction. And hi, everybody. Great to see the number of attendees slowly going up. So it's, you know, a warm welcome from me and on behalf of my team at Denzome Care Farm. I'm really delighted to be asked to deliver this aspect of the conference, but the brief was rather ambitious. 10 minutes to showcase care farms and the many wonderful initiatives over the past year. 10 minutes doesn't do it a service, and like me, I'm sure you'll be left wanting to hear more. However, I'll do my best to be succinct as possible. So we've already heard from Rachel and Debbie about the wonderful developments that the Growing Care Farming team are undertaking and behind the scenes to promote care farming. And the video, very inspiring. I loved what the gentleman said. I made a note, green spaces are key to life. They certainly are. Care farms are so diverse and vary enormously, from one single farmer running the show to a team of 50 staff offering residential experiences. But what we all have in common is that we've all been significantly affected by the pandemic, and all care farms have had to adapt our day-to-day provision because of COVID-19. Sadly, with a heavy heart, for many reasons, some care farms haven't survived and they leave a legacy of impact from their previous years. But others, perhaps the more fortunate, have been making tremendous adaptations to their daily provision, reaching out to the heart of the communities and those who are so vulnerable in society that we duly serve. One personal experience I'd like to share with you is one that helped me get through lockdown #1. And the challenges I faced personally as a working mummy, I'm a homeschooler, a cleaner, and a constant snack supplier. Some of you may feel my pain in terms of that. And one night, as I was scrolling through social media, frantically trying to find activities to keep the children entertained the next day while I was working, the gorgeous Lucy Thornton from Thornton Alpaca Care Farm popped up, describing her new online Zoom educational courses that she developed for 8 to 15-year-olds. Even better, they were accredited by AQA. So my son jumped at the chance and he engaged every Wednesday morning, 10 till 12, listening to Lucy's adventures while she moved around her care farm. She taught the children about her wildlife. She even rescued hedgehogs as part of the course. And we all met the alpacas and did some virtual alpaca trekking with her. Along with the other young people, they were set homework tasks every week, and they generated evidence towards this qualification, aided by Lucy and these various educational packages that she'd found to capture their evidence. One particular activity springs to mind. Lucy had planned over the course of the weeks we did the course to incubate some eggs, and all the young people who were participating chose an egg as theirs. Lucy numbered their eggs, and over 3 weeks, we watched the eggs hatch. And much to my son's delight, his wasn't a chicken, what we were expecting. It was a duck. And such a fabulous, innovative idea that was so educational and perhaps the highlight of lockdown for my son. So thank you so much for your energy and innovation, Lucy. Great example of how a care farmer adapted their provision. And it was across the country. Of course, I'm not local to Lucy, you know, I'm quite far away, but we still enjoyed that provision. Lockdown #2 enabled some care farms to start opening with strict systems in place for social distancing, one-way systems, and anti-bac on every corner where we turned around the farm. We had a little giggle at Densholm, as we were told many years ago by one inspection body, which I won't name, to remove all anti-bac dispensers from around the farm. It is no substitute for hot hand wash and it should be removed. So now there we were, fixing dispensers around the farm once again. So during this period, we applied for funding to support us with putting in place the additional measures that we needed to open the care farm again, to make it safe. And we were successful in the bids that we put in, which was great. We purchased a number of items, including additional signage, additional tools, PPE, wipeable chairs, and paid for additional cleaning services to do a deep clean in between various visitors at the farm, enabling us to open up, although skeletal, provision, but enabling those who could return to return. Some staff had to shield, and still are shielding. Others have been furloughed. But along with supporting our staff, the paperwork needed to reflect the new ways of working. Writing the COVID risk assessment and the protocol that went with it wasn't the highlight of my 2020, but the paperwork had to be in place before we could welcome our clients back. Lockdown #3 has enabled us to use these resources and open the care farm to young people on alternative provision programmes. The team at Densholm have been doing some creative work with the young people whilst keep everyone safe. Many challenges, but many innovations. So today we're going to hear about a number of other examples of how delivery has changed in the sector. At Densham, my father, also known as Farmer Dennis, has discovered his talent as a film star and learned to love social media. Hearing my dad, who has been a farmer all his life, asking me, how many likes have we got on that, Rach, is certainly interesting. Streaming videos from the fields, we've produced short films for schools and for our clients who have been unable to return to the farm. And it helps us keep them up to date with farm developments. I know for many of our clients, coming to the farm was their only day away from the home each week. So the impact of lockdown has been hugely disruptive to their routines and lives. Keeping in contact, albeit virtually, has helped us maintain relationships and check in with those we have become to know so well on the care farm. Our farm choir even live streamed a Harvest Festival performance. You'll see on the slides now, which you can see, some images of some more innovations across the sector. So enough from me. I now have the pleasure of introducing 3 care farmers who have adapted their delivery to help the wider community. And community spirit is something we've all needed, isn't it? Another brave care farmer you'll hear from has started her care farm during COVID, taking the opportunity to upskill staff and develop a quality provision. Finally, we'll hear from Robin about his exciting work embracing online delivery and how the opportunity has arisen to set up new sites. So thank you all. It is now my pleasure to hand over to Liz Marley from Poppies Care Farm. Thank you, Liz.
Here I am. Sorry, just the button wasn't pressing. Hi, I hope everyone can hear me okay. It's lovely to join you all, and it's lovely listening to those others. There's been so many inspiring stories coming from care farms, you know, across the entire country, actually. So I'm just going to talk a little bit today about our care farm and the things which we've done during lockdown. So my name's Liz Marley. I manage Poppies Care Farm with my husband, Lee Smith. It's a 7.5 acre small holding on the outskirts of Ipswich in Suffolk. We've been going since 2014, so we're not the oldest care farm by any manner of means. However, we were the first care farm in the UK to achieve compliance with the Code of Practice, something which we're quite proud of. And I would recommend that to any aspiring care farmers, because it really is a helpful process to go through to know that you're doing the right thing. So we provide daycare services for adults with learning difficulties and mental health issues. We are a KIC, which is a non-profit making organisation, which we found suited our operation. It means that you can apply for grants, but you don't have quite the paperwork of being a registered charity. The majority of our referrals come from Suffolk County Council, who we have a provider framework agreement with. So I've been asked today to speak about the impact of the COVID restrictions on Poppies Care Farm and our response, but with particular emphasis on helping in the wider community. Next slide, please. So a little bit about a background about Poppies. Our unique selling point, if you like, is that we are very much a working farm, and we make quite a big deal out of saying that the care farmers are involved in all aspects of the farm. So they participate in the routine daily activities, which is animal care, obviously, and we've got a very large and productive market garden. So year round, there are seasonal tasks that go on in there, and I'll come on to a bit more about what we do with the market garden later. But they also get involved in any projects which are going on, which could be anything from building a new field shelter, laying concrete, repairing fences. Today, in fact, one group is working with Lee, assembling a new 25-metre polytunnel. And they love being involved in all aspects. It's a real sense of achievement and teamwork. So they learn hard skills, but our overriding aim is to achieve goals through teamwork, increasing self-confidence and self-esteem and social skills, obviously, but also have a bit of fun along the way. I think that's really important. and some jobs which might be quite mundane in the daily chores in the market garden of mucking or weeding can be made much more fun if there's a group of you having a laugh whilst you're doing it. So in addition to those daily tasks and the project work, we also try to fit in some baking and preserving, woodworking, a bit of art and craft, and we go on nature walks and a bit of pond dipping. In fact, just today we've been watching our pond, which is alive with frogs. I'm sure other people are getting the same activity at this time of year. Next slide, please. So what impact did the COVID restrictions have on Poppies? Well, we closed the farm on the 21st of March, which was one working day before the official lockdown from the government. We reopened again on the 29th of June, having laid out a roadmap to reopening, which we submitted to the local authority, Suffolk County Council, who we have a really good relationship with. And they provided guidance throughout ongoing actually throughout lockdown. When we reopened on the 29th, we had very low numbers and we kept totally outdoors, including for breaks. We made a new breakout area in our woodshed, which was of course fine in summer, and I'm sure plenty of other care farms did the same. But as the weather got worse, we reconfigured our indoor area to make it COVID safe and to allow for that social distancing. And we also, whether we were outdoors or indoors, we had a daily sanitising regime, new towels for everybody every day. So lots of laundry, lots of bleach using. And we introduced social distancing in quite a fun way. If you look at the picture on the right, what those guys are holding are pig sticks, and we carry them around the farm, and it's a little bit awkward, but in a good way, because it reminds you to socially distance. And we keep saying, if you can touch someone else with your pig stick, you're too close to them. Now, obviously, some activities you do get closer, but we are outdoors as much as we can possibly be. And it's been working really well for us. And it's worth mentioning that financially we have been supported throughout the lockdown by our local authority, Suffolk County Council, who have gone to great lengths to ensure that providers are kept afloat and can carry on post-lockdown. Next slide, please. So during lockdown, we did make farm improvements. I think we realised we were going to be shut. I can't remember how long people thought it would be to start with, but we knew it would be weeks, if not months. During our typical care farming day, of course, activities are planned around essential activities, caring for the animals, keeping the market garden going. But it's a very balanced day, and we have a variety of activities for the care farmers. And of course, lots of breaks. However, during the farm closure, we realised that we could use this time very productively. So we really cracked the whip on ourselves and completed some projects in double time. We were really, from a very early stage, we just thought, let's just get the farm, let's get ahead of the game. Let's get the farm ready so when the care farmers come back, there will be improved facilities for them and some new facilities as well. I think it was obvious to us even then that some things would have to sort of change permanently, or certainly for a long term, to allow for social distancing. So I don't know if you can see all of my little pictures there, but basically during that first lockdown and ongoing through the summer, we built a completely new toilet block. That's the picture right in the middle. And it's very close to the outdoor eating area, which is the bigger picture on the top right. So that it's a viable venue. We can spend time out there, and we've got facilities nearby. There's 2 toilets there, sort of fully, all mod cons. Also during that time, we completed the conversion of an outbuilding into a honey room. That's the picture in the bottom right, just the outside of it. But it's a fully purpose-built kitchen for honey extraction, fruit and vegetable preserving and baking. And it's all compliant with food hygiene standards. And it means the space in there, we couldn't take in our normal group of 3 people, but we can take 1 or 2 people in at a time to do those kind of activities. It's actually got 2 doors, so plenty of ventilation. We also luckily, we doubled the size of our workshop. one of our tenants moved out and moved a lot of stuff out, and we moved their office out, and we're actually, he was moving out anyway, but we managed to double the size of the workshop, and we can now fit in there about 5 socially distanced workstation. So we kind of re-equipped it and put new lighting in and got workstations in there. So we've got tons of space in there now. We also converted part of our stable into a mush room for growing mushrooms as an interesting new activity. Sadly, growing mushrooms is much more difficult than we thought it would be. We haven't been very productive yet. So if anyone's got any top tips on growing mushrooms, please let me know. We are persevering. We put up a new polytunnel last year. That's the bottom picture and sort of just under the text. And it was so successful that's why we're putting up another one now. So we will now have 2 25-metre polytunnels, one which is about 12 metres and one which now looks tiny, but was quite big when we first got it. Now, I was also asked to mention, we have throughout lockdown and actually even during the restrictions last summer, we kept going with Zoom meetings. We do telephone outreach with everyone and Zoom meetings that people can come on if they want to. And it's to keep them in touch with the farm, see the animals, see the new developments, and really importantly, just get to chat to their friends. And particularly for the shielders who are still, well, actually just after Easter, they can come back, but they haven't been able to come back. And I think it's really quite tough on them. And actually, like Rachel mentioned earlier, we had some incubating eggs, but we weren't quite as nice. We turned it into a sweepstake competition. So we did number all the eggs, but there was only one winner, whoever the egg that hatched first. A lot of our care farmers we have sweepstakes on nearly everything from Strictly Come Dancing to the Great British Bake Off. They do like a good competition. So, but we have themed Zooms, like we'll have an alpaca theme and we'll be trimming their hooves, or we'll, have a donkey theme and we'll take the donkeys for a walk and groom them. And of course, it's no substitute for the real thing, but it keeps people in the loop of the farm. Next slide, please. So I've been asked to focus on our work in the wider community. And just to add to that background, we have always taught our guys that the farm itself is a beneficiary. Our clients are beneficiaries of charitable donations and of course support of Suffolk County Council. But we've always really focused with the guys that we can all make a contribution. And we've done that in a couple of ways to try and sort of feed back into community. We've always, every Comic Relief Day and every Children in Need Day, we spend the week or so beforehand baking cakes at the farm, or cookies or cupcakes, and the guys take them home. That's that picture on the right with all their celebrations, tubs full of cookies, because they can do this. They can make cakes, they can take them home, they can sell them to family and friends and neighbours, and then they bring their money back into the farm, and we get to announce it on Facebook how much we've raised this year for Children in Need or Comic Relief. We've also really tried to embed ourselves in the local community. We've got a great relationship with Trinity Park, which is the home of the Suffolk Show, which is right next door to us. And Home Farm Nacton, which farms all the fields around us. They've helped us out of a few holes, literally, with their much bigger tractors than ours. But for example, when they had an open day, they're arable farmers. We took a little selection of our goats along to their open day. So it's a really nice being part of the community relationship. And we also, there's a lot of public footpaths near where the farm is located, and we regularly go out on walks, partly because it's a nice thing to do. It's a nature walk and we can observe the changing seasons, but we also do quite a lot of litter picking while we're out. And I always emphasise with the guys that this is another way that we contribute to society by keeping the place beautiful for ourselves and for other people and safe for wildlife. Next slide, please. So how did we carry on this good work during COVID? Well, the first thing I want to talk about is an initiative which was a direct response to the hardship felt by many during the first lockdown. The Pavilion Cafe in Woodbridge, which was it's not a project like ours, but it does run a cafe, and what they do is by charity, and they provide training opportunities for young people in food preparation, running the cafe, etc. But during lockdown, obviously the cafe itself was closed. So in conjunction with the Salvation Army, they started making ready meals with donated food, I think primarily from FareShare, which some of you will probably have heard of. The head cook there, a man called Gary, knew us through meetings at the Ipswich Farmers Market, which I'll come on to. And he asked if we would be able to donate any fresh produce. So we thought that was actually a really lovely way that we could contribute back to society, because we were being supported ourselves by Suffolk County Council through this difficult time. A lot of people were really struggling, and the Salvation Army were distributing ready meals to those most in need, and Gary was making them in a ready, steady cook style. So we, throughout lockdown, and in fact for the whole of 2020, we did weekly deliveries of fresh produce and eggs, because they did desserts as well, as you will see later. And so the photos on that slide are just a select. Every week when I delivered, I'd put my veg down on the double yellow lines outside his cafe and take a little picture of this week's delivery. And he then amazingly managed to figure out some amazing meals that he could turn into deliverables to Salvation Army's, the people that they were helping out as well. And actually it was a real night when the care farmers did start coming back in June, and we carried on doing this. It was a really nice thing to do with them, because I explained to them what we were doing and why we were doing it. And the care farmers all actually really love harvesting anyway. And this was it was adding that extra element of being meaningful. I mean, harvesting is always meaningful, but this was particularly so because of what Gary was then doing with it. And so we'd go around the market garden deciding which vegetables we'd give some of to Gary for that week. And we got a bit more sophisticated as we went on, because I would actually give him a heads up and give him some choices, rather than just, landing him with a tray of turnips and say, see what you can do with that. And that's carried on. We've got a little break at the moment, simply because it's winter and there's not much around, but we'll be resuming quite soon. Next slide, please. So I mentioned that pre-COVID, we've always made quite a big deal out of baking cakes and raising funds for comic relief and children in need. Because of the COVID restrictions, we couldn't do any baking or selling of cupcakes. However, one of the positives that have come out of lockdown is that people are doing a lot more exercise, and the public footpaths near the farm have been teeming with people doing their daily hour of exercises, which has been a huge increase at our gate. And we've always had this produce stand at the gate, but it's always been a bit hit and miss pre-COVID. But now we can sell quite a lot of stuff there. So during the Children in Week Need in November, we actually made a really huge effort, and we stocked up that produce stand every single day. And it just sold so well. There was that blackboard's got a sign saying all proceeds to children in need. And we managed to raise over £150, which just from vegetables, and there were some eggs as well, but mainly vegetables, was really impressive. And again, the care farmers loved that activity, harvesting, displaying the veg really prettily on the stand, and knowing that with our other activities, and as in previous years, we were making a contribution back into society. Next slide, please. So the third response that I wanted to mention was the Ipswich Farmers Market. Now, we did start attending that quite a while before COVID, actually, in April 2019. It was a brand new market, and we were approached by the organisers who wanted a local producer of fresh veg. Now, we're not a big commercial producer, and actually it's a bit of a challenge in these months to fill the stand, but we've just about managed to do it. And since that first market back in 2019, we have attended every single month, apart from during the first lockdown when it was cancelled. And it's a really nice way of becoming part of the community. We've got a lot of regular customers. A lot of people will stop by just for a chat. It's a great activity for the care farmers. Now, because it's on a Sunday, they're not actually on the stall, but the week leading up to the market, it's all about which vegetables we're going to harvest and prepare and get them looking nice. And also, in addition to selling fresh produce, we sell preserve the harvest. And you can see in the bigger of the two pictures a selection of jars. So we've got jams and chutneys, and which we primarily make out of our own produce from the market garden. So that's a really nice activity for them. And then they can pop down on the Sunday and they can see all the stuff that they've been involved in and prepared, and they can see how we're part of the farmers market on that Sunday every month. And it's just a really nice thing to do. Plus, you meet a lot of people who support the farm, both either because they're into local food production or they've got an interest in daycare services. But it's turned into quite an important networking event as well, I would say. Next slide, please. So the fourth thing I wanted to mention was the Box O Veg scheme, which is run by Growing Places. Growing Places are another organisation in Ipswich run by Realise Futures, who also provides daycare services for adults with learning difficulties. And they are a social enterprise. They have a large market garden of their own and produce a lot of their own veg, which they top up with produce from ourselves and from some other suppliers. Now, as a result of donating all our produce to Ready Steady Cook Gary during lockdown, we held off resuming sales to Growing Places until early June, when the harvests really become very bountiful. But we wanted to do both, donating to Gary for the obvious reason, we're supporting the community, making those ready meals going to the most needy. But of course, a lot of people who could afford food were still hard hit by the pandemic, and Box of Veg schemes were hugely popular. The demand went up. Growing Places told me the figures, but it was like, you know, they could hardly, well, in fact, I think they had to cap numbers, as did many people. But we wanted to be part of that effort to fulfill the demand, so we resumed our deliveries to them. A lot of our guys also go to Growing Places. So again, it's a very meaningful activity for them. They're harvesting for Growing Places. They know what Growing Places do. Some of them will then be out on the delivery runs for the Box of Veg scheme. So it's a nice synergy, if you like. Next slide, please. Now, this is a nice colourful slide. The fifth item I wanted to mention is a wonderful vegan cafe called Hullabaloo. We were first approached by them back in 2018. One of the owners was in a samba band, which was rehearsing in one of our barns. And he wanted fresh, local, organic produce. His partner Jenny is the chef. She's just the most amazing chef, and if you ever come to Ipswich you must pay them a visit. And it's been a mutual relationship, and you can see that the Poppies Care Farm, that's what they put on their page. So they're supporting us as a local business, and B, a worthy cause, if you like. But also they love our vegetables, and if we've got anything available they will pick our produce in preference to anyone else. And they're really opposed to waste. And I know that if we've got a surplus of anything, I can give it to Jenny and it absolutely won't go to waste. In fact, she'll turn it into something amazing. And again, the care farmers really love harvesting for Hullabaloo, because Growing Places will buy a large amount of a few vegetables. Hullabaloo want a little bit of everything. And so we go around the market, you know, getting them a bit of spinach, a few carrots, some potatoes, onions, garlic, a little bit of everything. So that's good fun for them as well. So I think if I've got time, I am running a little bit late, but if we've got time to show a video, which is linked into the next slide, it's only 2 minutes. But it's quite a nice demonstration of that virtuous circle, what Gary's doing at the pavilion, what we're doing to provide them with veg, inspiring other people to do similar things, and having a bit of fun along the way. It's an amusing video. So if you've got time, play it. But if you need to cut it short, then I'm in your hands.
Good morning, Liz.
Morning, Gary. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good, good. This is Liz from Poppies Care Farm. And every week she's been bringing us lovely things that she's growing up on the farm. So what have you brought us this week, Liz?
We've got 29 bags of mixed salad and rocket.
Fantastic.
To go in the food parcels. Some
Lovely.
fresh herbs, I'm sure you'll find a use for them.
Yeah.
A tray of spinach.
Yeah.
Goes in everything. Radishes and fresh beetroot.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So we're back in the kitchen for another busy day. And so far we've prepped and cooked a simple, delicious courgette, mint and chilli soup. Reese Lightning has been working on more banana and blueberry bread, just mixing things up a bit because our clients have been enjoying homemade blueberry sponge the last few weeks. So we thought we'd do something a little different. Over the weekend, we're going to be making meze boxes with roasted spiced beetroot and spinach from Poppies Care Farm to add to homemade falafel, and spicy beef burritos, chicken white bean and veg stews, some calzone, some more sweet things. We'll share the recipes with you over the next few weeks. But from myself and Reese, we'd like to thank you, the hundreds of you that have watched our videos, those that continue to support us, and the team at BBC Radio Suffolk for their shout out yesterday. And we just hope our light-hearted take on supporting the community has given you a smile or two. So thanks for tuning in. Reese Lightning! Yeah? Can you get the kettle on? I need a brew. And then get on with your chopping and cooking, or it'll be time to crack the whip. Take care all. Thanks again. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Liz. That was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Some gorgeous images as well on your PowerPoint slides, real colourful, and all of that's making me hungry. So the good news is it's comfort break time. So we're going to have a 10-minute comfort break. So it's currently at 15:12. So if we can all get back for 22 minutes past 3, that will keep us all in check time-wise. It's nearly another minute to go for break. Oh, no, we're not. My clock says it's 15:22. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you've managed to get outside, get some fresh air. It's a beautiful, beautiful day up here in sunny East Yorkshire. So I hope you're enjoying the same weather today. So it's my pleasure to introduce Jo Dudek from Field and Farms. Are you in the building, Jo?
I am, I'm here.
There she is. So Jo's going to talk to us all about her brave adventures of setting up her care farm and adapting to the restrictions. Thank you very much, Jo.
No problem. Hi, I'm Jo and I'm from Fields and Farms. We're an alternative provision and care farm based in a little village called Barton in the Beans in Leicestershire. So next slide, please. So what we are, we work with young people at the minute aged youngest 11, the eldest is 17, and they can come and spend time on the farm 1 or 2 sessions a week. They take part in different activities such as animal care, horticulture, ground care and conservation, agriculture and farming, and then various art and design activities such as woodwork, cooking. We do photography, we've done some nature art. The focus is very individual on the young people because we do actually work one-to-one because we're in the early stages. We don't have a huge amount of students on board yet. So we can work with them and what interests them and what skills that they've got and what they want to do with the day. So some of the people want to learn skills for their future, to work for employment, voluntary or paid. Others, it's just about enjoying the escapism of being on the farm. Sorry, pardon me. So spending time with the animals helps with their anxieties, and it can help build their confidence. There are obviously certain activities that have to be done on the farm, the feeding of the animals, the cleaning out, and we feel that this teaches them responsibility. And we also focus on supporting positive mental health and well-being. Next slide, please. So how we started. So I was a teacher at a special school for 15 years and just discovered that I wanted to do something different with my life. I always enjoyed the outdoors and being with animals and thought there might be something that I can put together that with my passion for the outdoors and the animals, and also working with young people with additional needs. I actually had no idea that care farms even existed before I started my research. And then I felt that the concept really fitted what I wanted to achieve with the farm and with the young people that I wanted to work with. So I was teaching part-time, and I went to my local farm shop that I used a lot and just said, please, can I come and work on your farm? He had a brother who was lambing at the time, and they are always really busy, and so said that they could do with an extra pair of hands. So that was in March 2018 that I started there, and basically I just didn't leave. David and Jane, who own the farm, have been amazing and really supportive, really took me under their wing, kind of after getting over the initial shock of someone wanting to go and work on the farm for free. They gave me loads of opportunities and threw me in at the deep end. I was driving the tractor, I was shearing sheep, I was doing the medication for the animals, herding sheep, all of that. I talked to David and Jane about what I wanted to do, and we looked at different pieces of land, and then David decided that he would rent me a paddock on the farm. So it took me, we had to apply for planning permission, get the water and the electric there. There literally was nothing, it was just a paddock. And so what I love is that it is on a working farm as well, and I have the advice and the help from David and Jane that is invaluable. So we opened just at the end of 2019, and we're just getting started basically when COVID hit. So next slide, please. So this is what we have so far. In fact, there are some additions to this as well. So we have the cabin, that's our indoor space. We have an allotment area for growing our fruit and veg. We have at the back corner a garden area for our flowers and our conservation work. We have ducks and chickens. Not on there as well is our small animal shed where we have guinea pigs, and we have pet rats as well. The sheep are on there at the sheep were on there at the moment. There are ducks on there at the moment in the field shelter, obviously, because we're having to keep the birds in. But there are ponies. We also have 2 ponies, and sometimes they come onto the small paddock, but we also have access to the rest of the farm. What I do love about where we are is having access to the working farm, where there's an 18-acre field, so we can take long walks around there. We do the fence checks. We all join in when they're herding the sheep, having to bring them in to do worming or shearing or anything like that. They've also got 2 big barns where they do calf rearing, and so we get stuck in there doing the bedding down, filling up water troughs, filling up food, anything that kind of needs to happen there. Our stable is down in the main yard as well, and so we go down there and obviously do the mucking out and anything that we need to do for the ponies. Okay, yeah, next slide. So briefly, just thought I'd introduce you to the team. So there's 4 members of staff. There's myself, Joe. So like I said, I taught at a special school for 15 years. My passion is just to be outside and to be with animals, and so I've just kind of learning on the job, really. My background isn't farming, I'm just kind of learning as I go along, but I have an amazing team around me, which is what I need. So this is Nikki. Nikki's actually been with me from the beginning. She was a primary school teacher for 20 years, and then lately has been working for the Royal Forestry Society. And she does something called Teaching Trees, which teaches children, takes groups of children into the woods and teaches them all about conservation and nature. And so her experience is just brilliant. Next slide. Thank you. And Lisa on the right came to us, and she actually grew up on a farm, so it's in her blood, unlike mine, so she can bring lots of experience in that form. And then Becca is our latest recruit, and she actually has a small holding of her own, where she has pigs and alpacas and goats and chickens. So her experience about animals is invaluable too, so that's fantastic. Okay, next slide, please. Right, so this is one of the key kind of parts of me is the code of practice and the CVAS course. I have both these logos up in my cabin, and I'm very proud of them. I actually found the code of practice quite early on in my research of care farming, and started it just straight away. And as a teacher, I do love a tick sheet, and this was just perfect. I could literally work through it step by step to work through what I needed to put in place before I opened the doors. I did do it over a long time because I was still waiting for planning permission to come in. So it did take me over a year to do it, but I know that you can do it in kind of a shorter amount of time. It covered everything. It covered everything from the policies and the procedures, as well as the physical aspects of the farm and what I needed, and all those kind of bits. It really did help me, so I was really grateful to that. And I actually then went on the CVAS course, which links in with this. So I did the therapeutic route, and in fact Rachel was my tutor, and she talked us through the code of practice, you know, why it was important, you know, and then also how to apply onto it. Because I was quite far through it, it meant that I could talk to Rachel. I actually took my laptop in with my code in it and showed her and just said, you know, what else do I need to add? What am I missing? You know, where do I need extra bits? And she was just fantastic and really helped me through the process. And it was great to be there, kind of doing it face to face with her, and then with the other people who were there. The CVAS course on its own was fantastic. The networking was brilliant. All the information we got was great. It was reassuring to think that I was doing kind of the right thing, but also I took back things that I needed to change, and just new things to share with the team. Yeah, I think that's it. New slide, please. Okay, so as Rachel said, I opened, it was just about through. So I opened at the end of 2019, just with one young person, and then I was just getting started basically when COVID hit. And so it was a really difficult decision, you know, not decision, it was a really difficult thing to have to close. We'd worked through the winter, we'd done the rain and the snow and everything else. We'd planted all our seeds, the lambs were just about to come, and then we had to shut our doors. It was just so frustrating, but something that we had to do, and I totally got that we had to do it. To reopen, once we kind of got over the initial shock, and we could see that schools were going to reopen as an alternative provider. The few children that I had were classed as vulnerable, and the schools contacted me to say, you know, will you be reopening on the 1st of June? Again, like Rachel, I was doing a bit of juggling, so I had 3 children at home as well. But I did decide to reopen on the 1st of June. We had to put lots and lots of things in place. I guess one of the benefits with care farming with all of us is the 2 important things, which is washing hands and being outside. And they were basically, we are outside nearly all the time, whatever the weather. Unfortunately, we don't have the inside space. And we're washing our hands constantly because we are working with animals and working outside. At that time, the local authority, luckily kind of towards the end of May, I think, were due to do their annual inspection. It was actually our first inspection to be put onto their alternative providers list. So what was good with that is they were just fantastic to tell us what we needed to put in place to open safely for everyone. So our signage, our hand washing, our cleaning routine. We did have low numbers. You know, we only had two young people a day, and so it meant that we could take it in turns being in the indoor space and then being in the outside space. Yeah, the rigid cleaning routine, and so yeah, so that's the main thing. Next slide, please. So our struggles, the main struggles were getting more students through the door. Because of our limited inside space, we didn't want to take on too many. And so that meant we had to kind of, not say no to people, but put people kind of on waiting lists. But also we were being approached by schools, and then parents weren't wanting to visit because they weren't wanting to leave the house, or with travel restrictions didn't feel it was, a kind of a necessary journey. And so just getting those kind of initial visits in was quite difficult. Someone else I think has mentioned the anxiety just with COVID. A lot of the young people really were struggling who started to come through our doors. And so we had sessions where we'd just talk about it, whilst doing other things. Some of them wanted to talk a lot about it. Others actually didn't want to, and just wanted maybe to just forget about it, just be on the farm and forget just for a few hours that it is happening. So they might want to just sit and with the guinea pigs, or just pack the whole day full where they wanted job after job after job, and so that then they just didn't have time to think about it, and just felt that being on the farm, being in the fresh air, being away from home, because it was their only time away from their home, because the majority of our students don't attend school. And then after Christmas, the next trouble was the testing. We, as an alternative provider, we did find this really hard, because our local authority was telling us we needed to do the lateral flow test twice a week, but we weren't being provided with the tests like schools were, and if we wanted to attend testing sites, we were going to be with people who had symptoms, and so the staff weren't happy with that either. We did, one of the schools who send their young people to us, we did approach them, and eventually they did say that they would have myself and my staff in, and they would test us on a weekly basis. The testing's also been difficult for the young people who attend. It's not a nice thing to actually do, and they have struggled with that a bit. Now that we can test at home and we've been given testing at home kits, I do feel that that's been much better, and everyone's coping with it much easier. Next slide, please. So our strengths during the pandemic, again, I think like Liz was saying, we just cracked on. We knew we had a few months before we could possibly reopen, and so myself and my husband and my 3 children, we just got making things that we knew we would need, that we'd kind of do in between students for the rest of the time. So we put fencing in, we put new sheds up, we did a lot of groundwork, and just to get the place ready and improved for when we were kind of coming back in June. And the lambs, I mean, I just love lambing time at the farm. It's fantastic and just so exciting. And although we couldn't enjoy it with the students, it was nice for us to enjoy it with my daughters who weren't at school, and so they could come every day and help me. So I did get to enjoy it with some little people, which was nice. Next slide, please. So I just thought I'd show you quick bits of what we get up to. So on the right, we've got our stable. We're mucking out there, the stable, and then the calf rearing barn in the other picture. This is where we go in and we just kind of get messy with hay, basically, or straw even, throwing the straw in to bed down all the pens for the new calves that come in to keep them nice and clean. Next slide, please. Cooking, so we have one of our young people wants to learn to cook, and so that's what she does each week. We've got a cabin, and we just go in there with one student at a time. The other student has to stay outside. We do have the barns to go in if it is really raining, and so we can kind of rotate around. The other photo is doing some woodwork, so I think we were building a picnic bench there from a kit. Thank you. Next slide, please. Feeding chickens, so we've got chickens and we've got ducks as well. At the moment it is frustrating, we've been on lockdown, the birds have also been on lockdown, yeah, trying to keep them clean, especially the ducks, has been really tricky, yeah, some of the students find cleaning out the ducks a bit tricky because of the smell, even though we do it every other day. And then some, yeah, garden machinery maintenance, fixing a puncher on the wheelbarrow there. Next slide, please. So we had some new ducklings come in. When did they come? About October, I think they did. And so they were stars of the show, and they still are. Well, they are, especially now because they've just started laying. And so we're getting lots of eggs. And we've literally just set up a little egg stall to sell some of our eggs. So the students are just kind of getting into that, which is exciting for them to do. And then some gardening there, another student doing some gardening in our garden area. Next slide. I had to share this one because it was 2 weeks ago, I think, the 8th of March. So I don't live at the farm, but I got a phone call from the farmer who always puts a bit of hay in for our pony in the morning, and rang me at 6:30 to say, Joe, there's another pony in the stable. And I kind of got very confused. This is at 6:30. And she said, you need to get here. Really quite confused, got down to the farm, and our what we thought was slightly tubby Welsh pony had a foal. And so this is Luna Rose, and she has it's been so amazing for the young people to have this surprise foal. And I got the surprise looks every day of the week, which was fantastic because we had new people every day, and I didn't tell anyone that she was there. And so we just walked down to the stable and they'd look in, and I'd get these lovely amazed faces. So that's been our beautiful spring surprise, which has been very exciting for us. So yeah, next slide. So yes, that's me done. I hope that was okay and you found it interesting. Thank you.
Joe, that was so interesting. You've covered so much in your 10 minutes. And yeah, someone's obviously an avid Star Wars fan in your house. That can see
that's I usually take them down.
No, it looks great. It looks great. And thank you for your kind comments on CVAS course. I'll pay you after. So yeah, it's ironic, isn't it, what Joe says about, we're all in lockdown and the birds are in lockdown as well. It's yeah, the challenges have affected all creatures, great and small. But wonderful to see, and I love you and Spring Surprise. So thank you very much for sharing that with us all. And we're going to move on to our final speaker of the afternoon. We're going to welcome Robin, and I think it's Adam who is working with Robin. So over to you, Robin. Are you live? Here he is. Thank you.
Hiya, is Adam there as well somewhere? Are you awake, Adam? Or Colin? I'm being joined today. I'm Robin, but I'll introduce myself. I'm Robin. I'm the social farm manager for the Camphill Village Trust. So I've oversight on 6 social farms and gardens dotted across England for the trust. I'm based up in Yorkshire, as you can tell from my accent, in Bottom Village, and I'm joined by Adam, who I can hear laughing at me already. Adam, before COVID, was a regular attendee at the farm, so I'll let Adam introduce himself.
I'm Adam from Social Care Farm, and I attend most weeks on Social Care Farm.
And Adam's also been supported today by Colin, who's our co-production lead.
Hello, I'm Colin. The video doesn't work, but I'm here. That's not me there on the picture.
So yeah, we're going to talk to you. It's going to be a bit of a double act presentation. So Adam's going to talk to you a little bit about our what the trust is called Opportunity TV. So that was our social, not social. That's our virtual offer that we've put on during lockdown. Some of our sites are now reopened, but some of them are still closed to the people we support. So it's been a big change to the way we work. But I thought we'd start off by, if you flick onto the next slide, please, just a real short video that gives you a glimpse of what our farms are like usually pre-COVID.
Camphill Village Trust is a national charity supporting people with learning and other disabilities to lead a life of opportunity. The farm garden is run as a working farm, and we support people alongside the farmers to learn the skills that working on a farm brings. Everything's real and everything's got a purpose, and that's where you get buy-in from the people that we support. Well, people have mixed backgrounds. People with just a mild learning disability, autistic spectrum disorder, Asperger's, dementia, mental health issues, depression, anxiety.
I think it can be fairly isolating, not only for the person themselves, but also the family. It can be a challenge and it can feel like a battle as well. And that's what we aim to challenge, and that's what we aim to improve, and to work with people to support them to live the life that they want to live.
So that was life before lockdown, wasn't it, Adam?
I can't believe you showed that video, because it was awful videos I've made ever.
You loved it, really, Adam. So if we move on to the next slide. So when lockdown hit last year, the charity took a whole approach and closed all our day opportunities. And out of that born what's now become Opportunity TV. So Adam's going to talk a little bit about it in a minute, but here's a little short video that sort of summarises some of the stuff we've done.
The time has now come for us all to do more. From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Lockdown has presented all of us with many challenges, not least in Camphill Village Trust. We've long been committed to the notion of co-production, the idea that collectively the solutions are held within. If we harness our skills and use them creatively, then anything is achievable. But shared creativity is not easy, especially when we're not able to sit round a table, share coffee and cake, and spark each other's imagination. Like many in these times, we found the solution could be held in technology. In addition to our very own app, CVT Connect, we also looked at the emergence of Zoom and thought about how can we use this to connect people together, even if they're no longer in the same location. A series of daily Zoom sessions soon started to take place.
Andrew's going to be my master chef, aren't you?
Of the TA1 because it has the dynamo.
Each of them being led by a person with a different passion or a different interest, something they could share that others could gain inspiration from.
I'll hand over to Adam and Colin now to sort of speak a little bit about Opportunity TV and the opportunities that it's given Adam and how you found it, really.
Paul, do you want to say something first? And I'll go last.
You go first, Adam. Yeah, well,
touch on spot there.
Yeah. Well, I've got no knowledge about farming at all. Yeah, I know nothing. Right. I mean, I used to be a team leader in one of Adam's projects, and basically the only sort of experience I've had of farming is being scared stiff of the cows when they escaped once. But what I can say is that working outside, working with other people and working in that type of environment, these people in Bottom Village are the happiest people in that community. That's because they're working with people and they're alleviating their loneliness and isolation, but they're also learning a trade. Now, during sort of lockdown, we brought in Opportunity TV. Yeah, we've got sessions, as you can see, on mental health, well-being, cooking, music, fact finding. We've got focus groups. We've got much more going on. And basically, they've taken over from the care farm while it's been shut, but it's also sort of enable people to meet other people from different communities. But it's also sort of, when we look at sort of Robin and the care farm in Bottom Village and the other sort of care farms we've got in other communities, we've learned lots and lots of stuff about care farming, yeah, which I never ever thought I would know, but we've also met new people. And when we're on sort of Zoom sessions, we talk to each other, don't we, Adam? We talk, yeah. We help each other out, we support each other through these trying times. And to finish off, one example is people, when asked on sort of our mass sessions, when I'm hosting them, what people want, they want to get back to these farms. They want to get back outside. So basically, supporting each other, everyone's in the same boat. We're preparing to get back to these sort of community sort of objectives in that. And, you know, Zoom's been fantastic, and Opportunity TV. I've never thought a year ago we'd be doing sort of presenting and hosting things on Opportunity TV, but we've become very skilled in the technology, but it doesn't take over from the real world. It's a substitute, but we can use some of it going forward. Does that answer your question there, Adam?
Yeah, I hate that picture in the bottom left. That was awful.
You look cool.
No, it's in my room, which it's behind. So no, like Colin said, it's giving that person life opportunity, but
yeah, it's giving everyone a life of opportunity at the moment, isn't it, Adam? Yeah.
Do we get back to some sort of normal?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the skills you've learned, Adam?
I've learned, and I've come a co-production leader under Colin Books' wings, but I've done community catalyst. I've hosted 90% of the meetings under Colin Books. I've helped Robin through half of his meetings, if he wants to jump in. But no, it's been fantastic.
And do you think, Adam, without COVID and without lockdown, you would have done some of these things before that?
No, not at all. But sometimes, yeah, co-production, yeah, but not as much.
The lockdown and the COVID has actually opened up different opportunities and you to learn new skills other than the things that you would regularly learn on the farm.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Shall we play the little clip now of the farm to give a little taster of what the Zoom sessions from the farm team put together?
All the dairy cows are inside now for the winter. Here's the first one of them. This is Blossom. Blossom is in a pen by herself because she bullies the other cows. So we're keeping her separate and keeping her calm. She's not very impressed, but it's the best thing for her. As we move round, past the tractor, it's still got the gritter on. Going into the back here, there's 5 of the dairy cows in here. They're all dry cows at the moment, so they'll be having the baby or the calves within the next couple of weeks or months. All right, so down at the back there, we have, let me see who we got. We have Ruby at the front, Golden, and let me see, Ruth is the other one. And then here, Scarlett and Juliet are busy eating away. So then.
So, go on, Rob.
No, you go on, Adam.
I was just going to say, from that video, it's New Bottom Farm is basically a dairy farm where we milk all the dairy cows, shorthorns, and calve in there. High Farm is basically a beefing farm, but still got the same capacity. We've got beef cows, we've got veals or cows, pigs, and we don't have sheep yet. But I'm working on getting sheep in the near future.
And Adam, do you want to tell everyone a little bit some of the different sessions that the farm team have been able to put on over lockdown?
One's farm session is a social care farm on Zoom, where Claire and Becky and Rianne have been amazing and just talked about the inside of a cow. And it's all been brilliant, but everything from social care farms to looking at where the plants come from to another social care farm in Gloucestershire to Stourbridge Farm and Larchfield, but we haven't been on Larchfield Farm yet.
So we've had sessions on bees and
yeah,
and trees and wildflowers, haven't we?
Yeah.
And you maybe elaborate a little bit on the inside of a cow that you mentioned.
So from four stomachs to where the digestion is, to where the calves, to basically everything inside and outside the cow.
So basically what the farm team did was they got one of the tame cows and painted the digestive system on the side of the cow in quite colourful paints, and we held a Zoom session around that, which was sort of to try and take the idea of grass to grass to glass, so converting grass into through to milk, and how the cow's digestive system worked.
Yeah.
That's something that we probably would never have done before all this. We would have maybe talked people through it and had a bit of discussion around it, but I don't think we'd have gone to the extent of getting a cow out and painting it in pretty colours and to sort of show. But I think what Zoom's taught us as the farm team anyway is how can we, once we get people back on farm, how can we adapt to what we do to incorporate some more of these learning opportunities which we've done through Zoom? How do we do them in person on the farm? And I think for us as the farm team, that's what the big thing that we take is we probably need to adapt a little bit of our offer to appeal to other people, and how can people that are far outside our geographical area access the facilities that we've got and the resources and the knowledge that our staff team have got. I think that's been the big thing for Zoom, is we've had an awful lot more people on these sessions than we would have ever normally seen an awful lot of different people. And due to the fact we're a large charity and we've got several sites, that's enabled us to have a diversity of different things to talk about and to discuss, and it's just been really beneficial. Have you got anything further to add, Adam?
No, nothing further to add.
We can move on to the next slide then. So, as well as maintaining everything that we currently do, the trust has taken the opportunity of COVID and lockdown to look at where we want to go in the future. And as part of that, we've took quite a bold step, and we're in the process of opening 2 brand new social farm and garden services. So the first one is a community allotment project based in Pickering, which sits sort of geographically between 2 of our existing communities. It's only a small site. We were approached by Pickering Town Council to look at partnering and taking on responsibility for part of this community allotment. And at first we were a little bit unsure, but we gave it a bit of thought. There was a lot of other groups that were interested. So we're partnering with a local special educational needs school who are also going to access the site. And there's other community groups, and the GP service in Pickering are all interested in utilising this service. So from our point of view, my point of view, is a relatively low cost, low risk project really. We're going to run a very basic horticultural based offer there. We're going to operate out of a little garden shed and a polytunnel, some public toilets next door, and then there's 22 other allotments which sort of Joe Public have use of. So it's about bringing that community in there and working a little bit outside our usual comfort zone, and allowing the opportunity of our staff to sort of teach and pass on their skills to other people that couldn't access our other current sites in that area due to the remoteness of the location. This site's right in the middle of an urban town. It's on bus, got good public transport. So it just made sense to us, and I can see through work I do with social farming, but also through work I've done with the National Farmers Union, that the way everything's moving, there's going to be a lot more people post-COVID wanting to access the natural environment and wanting to tap into the benefits that being outdoors and having a bit of a laugh and a joke with one another can actually bring. And we as a charity see this as a reason to expand, really. If we flick onto the next site, we're also expanding to create an urban farm. Now, as a trust, most of our sites are in relatively rural locations and tend to be quite big sites. This is a bit different for us. This is slap bang in the centre of Middlesbrough, quite a heavy urban environment. And in collaboration with the council, we've taken on just a 2-acre site in an area of Middlesbrough that's currently being redeveloped. And we're going to create a sort of an urban farm garden environment there. We're in the early stages. We've just passed planning permission. These photos on the slide just give an artist's impression, really, of what the site will look like. But the aim is to engage with client groups that we as a charity haven't typically worked with before. We feel there's a real need in Middlesbrough, in the urban area, for people to be able to access the benefits that being outdoors and the naturally sort of farmed environment can bring. And something that we're very keen to explore and bring more awareness to is for people that live in urban environments, that understanding of where their food comes from and how we need to look after the natural environment in order to produce the food that as a world we need, really. Middlesbrough's got a lot of well publicised problems with high unemployment, and there's a heavy industrial background to that, which brings some issues. But we as a charity saw it as a really good opportunity. We're really excited about it. We're hoping to start building work sometime in the summer with a view to be open towards the back end of the year. It's just a really fantastic opportunity. We've been supported. I've been supported by the charity to explore this opportunity and move it forward. And it's going to be beneficial to an awful lot of people, and bringing the benefits of the green farmed environment to the urban area, really. So even though COVID's brought a lot of challenges for us all, and there's been a lot of days where it's been tough, but I think the future is really bright. I think there's a lot of interest in the sector that we work in. I think post-COVID, there's going to be a big impact on people's mental health, and I don't think we've fully appreciated how big an impact that's going to have on society. So I think the more natural farmed environments like the ones we've talked about today, care farms, social farms, community gardens, city farms, all that, the more that we're going to see interest skyrocket, I think. And the Growing Care Farm project is putting the foundations in place for us all, and setting the standards to give the industry and the sector a really good foothold and spring forward. So I'm really optimistic about the future. We as a charity are very optimistic about it, very committed to the social farm movement and supporting that and driving it through. And it's seen through the fog of COVID and seeing the green shoots that are now starting to emerge. So that's us wrapped up. And so thank you very much. I don't know if you've got anything further to add, Adam?
No, nothing to add.
Brilliant. Thank you guys so much. That was absolutely inspiring and fascinating. And I would love to have seen that cow. I really would have done, all painted up like that. I think actually, Robin, you just saying sort of, that optimistic end and talking about sort of things through the fog of COVID. I think that everybody we've heard from today has really sort of just highlighted sort of how we've coped, and also just that sort of moving forward, really, that this sector can do, and the place that it has, I think, going forward, that you've just picked up on. I'm going to ask everybody just to turn their cameras back on now. Rachel Fell, Rachel Bragg, Liz, Joe, Adam and Colin, if you want to, it's up to you, and Robin. I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you, because it is really quite difficult, this sort of presenting. People who haven't done this before, you know, we're all probably a lot more used to being in rooms where we can see our audience and see people, and I suspect that we're all quite sort of people. And I don't know about the rest of you, but there is a bit of a sort of sense of doing this for the radio and not really sort of seeing your audience. So I really wish, Rachel, next time we do something like this, I think we should import some kind of applause like the BBC or Channel 4 do, so we get a sort of you know, a round of applause, because it does feel like you all deserve one. So thank you for that. I'm going to actually move my screen on. We're moving into this plenary session, the sort of Q&A session now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that everybody hopefully can see everything a little bit more easily. I can see the chat and some of the questions, which I haven't been able to see up to this point. Sarah, I expect you've been keeping a very close eye on the chat and questions. You're very good with this normally. So while I'm just sort of having a read through and catching up, do you want to just sort of pick up some of the questions that have been highlighted with some of the panelists?
Definitely, yeah. So obviously I've been sort of monitoring questions and not used to using Zoom myself, tried to kind of almost give part an answer to somebody, and it kind of flipped them over to an answered question, but I haven't, don't worry, I am going to pick up on that one, Harriet. So I've been trying to sort of pick out themes really, but I mean, there's not a huge number of questions, so I think we can probably cover everything actually. So firstly, I think what I'll do is I'll pick up on a couple of questions which were linked to different types of training really. And the first one was from Andrew, which was actually probably more aimed at the project team actually, around telling him a bit more about our role and the association with Thrive as part of the GCF project and kind of what they bring to the table, I guess. So if I could maybe pass that on to either Rachel or Debbie, whoever wants to answer that one.
Sorry, Rachel, I'm looking to unmute myself. Do you?
I'm trying to do as I'm told and answer questions when asked. Yes, I mean, our relationship with Thrive goes back quite a long way, because obviously we're all in the what we call the green care arena, which is a slightly grand term. I think we're all sort of working along the same thing, in the same direction. Thrive are our partners in the Growing Care Farming project, so they've been with us in the project inception and design and management and going forward, and they bring their skills and expertise in developing training, specifically their knowledge and vast array of training for social and therapeutic horticulture, and they've worked with us, with our care farmers and our project team to develop care farming training. So I think that, Debbie, is there anything more to add?
No, I think that one's fairly straightforward.
Thank you.
The second, I think, is probably one that Rachel Fell-Chambers might be able to help with. So Harriet was asking, saying that they had done the code of practice, but should they also be doing CVAS as well? So perhaps a bit of you know, a bit more about CVAS, what the differences are between that and the code of practice. Obviously CVAS is a training course, whereas the code of practice is a kind of a voluntary quality assurance scheme, but perhaps just expand a bit more on what CVAS covers and how that might help people starting out or on their sort of early journey.
Okay, I'll give an overview of the CVAS therapeutic route, and then I might hand over to Rachel B to answer the more intricate bits about how they interrelate together, because I know there's some developments currently underway, and Rachel will be able to give you a more up-to-date overview of that. But the CVAS is aimed at those who are either embarking on care farming or wanting to know more about it, or wanting to get their care farm set up and open to visitors, whoever they might be. And we look at what are the opportunities that you've got available on your care farm. Have you got a site map in place, identifying the opportunities? Have you got risk assessments in place? Have you got policies in place? And particularly safeguarding, particularly health and safety, because they are the pinnacle policies really that you need before you can even consider starting a care farm. We look at the range of individuals that might be coming to the farm, different groups, different needs, different ability levels of the people who are coming to the farm. And then we do look at the code of practice and the various aspects of that. So they do link together. In fact, they link together quite beautifully. And I think Jo's example of how she sat in one course with me, busy filling in the code of practice, which I thought was great. Time's of the essence, and to actually kill two birds with one stone, why not? So that's really the CVAS in a nutshell. So Rachel B, you might want to just add in a few more bits.
Yes, absolutely. So they are different but related, as Rachel said, because CVAS. So we have sort of a variety of training as part of the growing care farming sort of offer, if you like. And there's also the CVAS training, the CVAS education route, and the CVAS therapeutic route. That is a training external to GCF, although we are have been Social Farms and Gardens had a role in setting it up in the first place. And it's quite interesting at the moment because we're in the middle of reviewing the CVAS offer, so there are lots of changes afoot. And the good thing about the CVAS course is that it is an accredited course. It's OCN accredited, so you can get an official qualification having finished the training. And it's just sort of wanting to explain what I think it was Harriet that asked the question, and I think Harriet, as a care farm that already has the code, I would suggest that you probably don't need to do the CVAS therapeutic route, simply because you're up and at them and offering a service already. The CVAS route, the CVAS education route, was originally designed to help farmers who had been farming, to help them and facilitate school visits on their farms. And the CVAS course was originally developed to help farmers start to think about offering care farming services. And so I think if you're already up and at them and delivering, it's probably you probably don't need to undertake the CVAS course. And obviously, if you want to know more about the code, then it's all on our webpage. And I see that Pearl is down below as well, and she's always on hand to answer questions if you have them. So I think that's enough from me on that. Thank you, Rachel.
Fab, thanks, Rachel. Sarah, I've just noticed there's a message just pinged in from Wendy, actually, for Adam. Do you want to pick that one up? Can you see that, or do you want me to?
Wendy has sent a message to say it's great to hear how Adam has been able to use his skills and develop new ones. Is he an apprentice, or what kind of role? Is there a certain qualification or certificate, Adam, that you would like to achieve, or that you've already got through your involvement?
It's going. Robin, do you want to pick up the apprenticeship, because you've been nagging me to get one? I'm just chucking it over to Robin.
So Adam was attending the farm about a year probably before lockdown. Was that about right, Adam?
Yeah. And
then we were looking last year that we would look to put on an apprenticeship, farming apprenticeship. Unfortunately, COVID got in the way of that, and that's all been parked for the time being. But hopefully, that's something we want to explore in the future. So in the past, we have took on some of our trainees that have got to a certain stage and level, and we've took them on as apprentices. The last one was a horticultural apprentice on day release with Askham Bryan College, and now he's off and he's in employment. So that's certainly the opportunities we want to support some people with. But then also on the farm, we've started using the AQA unit award scheme for people with maybe a slightly lower skill set to be able to get some certification in certain areas of the jobs they partake on the farm.
I think Adam, you've been doing a lot of qualifications on Digital Unite, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to jump in. I was about to add that. So MENCAP, the ones that we as Boston, we've worked alongside MENCAP, and they've put on Digital Champion Unite, which is basically working alongside people with learning disability and autism just to get them on to tablets, iPads. That scheme is still going on, but we've worked alongside them so much, and we've come. There's 2 of us digital champions here. So
Adam, you're a digital lead, not a digital champion. You're the boss.
I can't say it, but no.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much, all of you, for your contributions there. I'm going to jump to a question, one of the early questions that came in now, which is possibly there might be several of the care farmers want to kind of comment on this one, but perhaps if we go to Liz first on this one. And this was from Debbie. So it's around managing risk with adults and young people with mental health issues on care farms. So Debbie's interested in promoting alternative approaches to conventional mental health services, and she's having conversations with commissioners at the moment, but I think she is interested in care farms that perhaps work with people who have self-harmed or who have suicidal thoughts, and particularly the risks associated with working with that group in that environment. So I don't know if that's something that you've got any experience of or anything you'd like to mention in answer to Debbie's question, but I'll open it up to you first of all.
Not a great deal of experience myself. We're mainly adult with learning difficulties, but we have had some mental health referrals, and in fact we did have a client who was a suicide risk and a self-harm risk. How did we risk assess her? We probably used the same approach as we do with other people, but because I had a good relationship with the client, and I was quite, I knew her quite well, so I guess that it was just extra vigilance, really. Not in a formal risk assessment way, but when she was at the farm, she was actually quite happy most of the time at the farm, and so the risk assessment was, this is one of the best things in her life, actually. And if I can keep her occupied with the various activities on the farm. And of course, once she was off the farm, unfortunately, there wasn't much I could do for her. Our objective was always that enough good would happen on the farm that would have a knock-on effect outside the farm. But we haven't had, I have to be honest, we haven't had a huge number of mental health referrals simply because of the issues with funding.
Right, okay. Are there any other experienced care farmers here that would have had experience in this particular?
I'll chip in, Sarah, if you want, because it is a group of individuals that we work with, but I absolutely echo what Liz has said. It's about that relationship and getting to know the people who come into your farm. But the initial stages, it's getting to know the referral agency as well and getting as much information as you can, looking at trigger points, what are the triggers for these individuals, and keeping them busy and getting them, to realise that, they can have some self-belief and they have got some self-worth and good at something on the farm. I think a follow-up question to that, Sarah, was about whether or not they come with a one-to-one worker or a carer. And I would just say that depends really on the referral agency and the individual. And we have had people and still have people come with a one-to-one worker, or we can provide a one-to-one worker. But that obviously adds to your staffing supervision levels as well, because they're another person that you have to supervise on the farm. So yeah, so it's just adding a bit onto what Liz said, really, and knowing the people who are coming to your farm.
Rachel, anyone else? Any comment? No?
Yeah,
Joe,
I think Joe
sorry.
was going to say something.
Yeah, we work with young people who have mental health difficulties and self-harm. And yes, again, the risk assessment was the same as we do for everyone else. We work one-to-one, and so I think that does make it easier because we are, we can just be supervising all the time. And yeah, it's for this young lady at the minute, it's her happy place, and so that does, that benefits that. She does like to talk about it, and so we do give lots of time for that as well. When she does come in, and because we work one-to-one, she can do that kind of without other young people listening. So that's nice for her, and I think she likes that kind of space to talk.
Sorry, we'll move to Colin. Thank you, thank you, Joe.
I think it's knowing where to signpost people to. Mental health matters, mind, or whatever. If people are sort of feeling suicidal, you've got to have that in your risk assessment where you signpost people to. Yeah, that's all I want to say, really.
I was going to jump in as well and just say the same thing as Colin. it's that on Zoom we've got so many good resources. We've got Larchfield person Debbie Smith, who just does amazingly, works with Larchfield. She's puts on mental health, but she does it in a way that helps people. So she sits with them, she talks to them, she actually listens to them. So the mental health rate for us is going down, but it's that talking to people as well.
Right, brilliant. Okay. I think we'll move on because I'm just conscious of time and we probably need to start wrapping up things quite soon. But I know that Donna wanted to ask a question, which is, sorry, I'm just need to move my screen a little bit. She's asking around, have care farmers found that schools and organisations look for structured sessions and qualifications, i.e., you know, accredited training and ones that they can get certificates? And if so, what organisations do you use? Robin had mentioned AQA, and I think Rachel mentioned the work that Lucy Thornton used to do around doing the AQA qualifications. But do any of you run any other formal training or accredited training certificates? And is that something that you find that your referral organisations or schools that you work with are desiring? Who should we go to? Sorry. Liz, do you do any accredited training?
No, we don't. We're only dealing with adults anyway, although we've got a few people who are simultaneously they're like 17, 18-year-olds. They're attending college and just coming one day a week to us. So their sort of legal educational requirements are being fulfilled by the college, and they come to us to sort of supplement that. But the rest of the people aren't looking. They're probably not in the category of people who could achieve a formal certificate because of the nature of their learning difficulties. And the referrers haven't come to us seeking that.
Rachel, is it something that you do at Densholm then, or is it more?
Yeah, well, we've used the OCN, which are very similar to AQA unit awards, because they're so flexible, because you can do one that might be introduction to team building, but the activity that you choose to evidence that team building can be anything. It can be building a fence, can be tuning the chickens out, it can be anything. And the evidence can be generated through photography and witness observations. It doesn't have to be written format, because what I found is that for all the young people who are coming to the farm, the very reason why they've possibly been excluded from school is because they hate picking a pen up and they hate writing. For whatever reason, and that's almost the turn off. So actually being able to use accreditations and evidence it through other ways is really beneficial. But some want it, some don't, and you know, we just try and adapt to the needs of the individuals. Do you do them, Jo, now?
No, we don't offer any kind of formal accreditation. We wrote our own modules, 5 modules, and we fill in just recording boxes just every week, or when we get a chance to, they just write the date in and what they've achieved to a certain statement, and they get a certificate when they've achieved that module. But because we're quite early on, and to do accreditation, you know, it's quite a big thing to embark on, to do accreditation yourself and become the examining body without being attached to a school or a college or anything.
Okay, thank you very much for everyone's contributions there. There's the last couple of questions that are open in the Q&A. I think maybe ones that might need to be picked up after this event. So one of them is just Harriet was asking Rachel whether she could find out a bit more about elms, and I'm just thinking whether that might be something that we could send some information through to via email, because not necessarily everyone would necessarily be interested in that. And also, you know, there's a lot changing with it. You know, it's still kind of being developed in a way, isn't it? Do you want to say anything about that?
Sorry, I forgot where my mute button was for a minute then. Thanks, Sarah. Yes, I mean, Harriet, there's a lot about elms up on the DEFRA website. It's very much in development at the moment. It's essentially the replacement to the environmental stewardship scheme. It's the sort of, I guess you could describe it as the post-Brexit equivalent to the environmental stewardship scheme. Before, under environmental stewardship, care farming services were paid for under higher level stewardship. We are part of the debate to try and have care farming recognised and valued and paid for within the new ELM scheme, but it's very much a case of watch this space. It's we are getting to get round the table to have the conversations, but it's still sort of in the development phase, and it's going to take sort of a number of years. So I think that's probably all I'm going to say about it now, unless Robin has anything to add. No, I think we'll leave it there. And Harriet, do feel free to get in touch if you want more information about what we're doing specifically.
And lastly, I think Andrew asked a question, and I think because I was distracted earlier on when Robin was talking about the glass to glass, I was replying to somebody's message, so I didn't quite take it in. I'm not sure whether he's actually already answered this and expanded a little bit on that, but you know, did you say that there was a session available on Opportunity TV that people could actually find on your YouTube that would explain that principle?
Yeah, I'll have to check that the actual grass to glass one is actually on the YouTube channel, but we have got a YouTube channel, Camphill Village Trust, and there's some of our Opportunity TV sessions are on there. So there's certainly some farm garden ones on there, but
great.
I'm not sure if the grass to glass one is on there, but we can make it available.
Fab.
That would be great, I think, and then Andrew can have a look at see what that involves. Brilliant. Well, I think we picked up on pretty much all of your questions, so I'll hand back over to Debbie.
We have, yes.
I will.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah, for picking up on those. That's fantastic, and thank you to all our panelists who have answered those. I'm sure there's probably other questions floating around that people will have and think, I really wish I'd asked that. Either ping us something on Twitter or send us an email. You know, do get in touch afterwards. We're happy to sort of pass messages on. I'm just going to share my screen for the final time and just ask Rachel, the rest of you, if you're happy to, I'm happy to sort of leave all the cameras on because we've only got sort of 5 minutes to go. Can you see my screen now? Are you seeing that okay? Yeah, brilliant. Rachel, do you just want to sort of romp through a sort of a bit of a wrapping up of some of the things that we've kind of covered?
Thanks, Debbie. I was struggling with my many screens here, actually, just as you were saying that. So apologies for the look of slight panic as I realised that I was just about to start speaking and muted as well. So just really wanted to sum up at the end here in a nutshell. As you've heard, we've come a long way over the last 2 years and we've achieved a great deal. So really there is much to celebrate. We've all worked together in the sector, care farmers, those wanting to get into care farming, the GCF team, colleagues at Social Farms and Gardens, our partners at Thrive. We've had much support and door opening from Natural England, helping us to speak to the NHS, DEFRA and Department for Education, etc. And as a result of us all working together, the recognition of the value of care farming and green care really is gathering momentum. We really can say that the time is now, as care farming and what it can offer is even more relevant now as we start to come out of the COVID pandemic and see the longer term effects on our mental health. We need more and more, as Robin said, we're going to need more and more of these meaningful nature-based opportunities to help people to recover. We know there's a desire for people to get out in nature. People get that connecting with nature can help us feel better. And so care farming is particularly relevant. There are exciting times. In a strange way, us having to adapt what we've had to do during COVID has made us stronger. The move to connect virtually to stop us feeling isolated from those that we care about and places that make us feel better has meant that we've widened our reach. We're actually engaging those who had not had a chance to get involved before. As I said earlier, we've connected people from Aberdeen to Cornwall, connected city farms, rural sites, care farmers with prospective care farmers, commissioners to deliverers. Care farms have connected service users with their site, their staff and other attendees at times when none of us could get together in person. We've widened that reach and have set in place some habits that are likely to remain in place actually as we come out of COVID, so that we're going to be able to access more people in future and deliver more services. We know that care farming is good for health, education and social care. It's great for agriculture. We're part of something bigger. We're part of the nature, health and wellbeing sector, and we're all going to be an important part of the solution to the nation's mental health recovery post-COVID. And all our opportunities within the wider sector mean more choice for the end user. People you're going to be able to see on your screen. Green care is good for people. It helps people to fulfill their potential, to rejoin society, to live life. And care farming can help thousands of beneficiaries like these to feel better, which after all is why we're here. So I just want to say, hang on to your hats. It's the exciting times ahead and we're all going to get through this.
Fabulous. Thank you, Rachel. That's a very upbeat end to what's been an incredibly upbeat afternoon, really. It's been really lovely to hear from everybody. We hope that everybody who has who's attended has enjoyed it. Do keep in touch with us, as I say, either through Twitter, through the Social Farms and Gardens Facebook page, via email. Keep an eye on our website. You will get an email an hour or so after this event with a feedback form, and we would encourage you to fill that out and just let us know. We'd like to hear from you, whether you'd like more of the same, questions you'd like picked up on, other events, that sort of thing. So do keep in touch. But I think all that is left for me to say now is thank you all very, very much. Thank you all panelists, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.